Hey, what's up? My name is Daniela and welcome to a new video. Today we are talking about an amazing spring reading challenge that I will be participating in, and this is the spring reading challenge by Victoria from Book Victoria Read. This is the second year that Victoria does these challenges. They are in the form of a beautiful bingo board that you're trying to fill. Last year we had the summer and winter reading challenge boards, and this year Victoria is doing spring and autumn, so that's very exciting. Also, last year in the summer ones, it also doubled as kind of booktuber recommendations because each prompt was linked to a booktuber, and I was one of the prompts. My prompt was a book about travel, so that was a great honor. And then I participated in the winter reading challenge, and it was so chill and laid back that I was able to do it alongside my project TBR Zero, which was obviously a pretty intense challenge. So I just really love this challenge because you can kind of do it at your own pace, and there's also a social aspect because Victoria has Discord, and there's also the Storygraph challenge where you can find some recommendations and stuff. So it is just the challenge that I've been really looking forward to. I will leave Victoria's announcement video where she explains everything and goes through all of the prompts. But the basics are that it is running from the 1st of March till the last day of May. So it has already started a week ago, but there is still plenty of time to join in and participate. I myself will be starting a little bit later because I've been in a bit of a reading slump and I'm still reading my February books. So I haven't actually started the challenge, but I think we have plenty of time, so you know, hopefully we will catch up. And also, as I said, it's like chill, like you don't have to read all of the books like to like fill the whole board, because obviously filling any row or any column will give you a bingo, so that's like a little achievement. So you can make it as small or as big as you want to, which is another thing I really like about the challenge. But if you do fill the whole board, there is a prize, so if you want it to be competitive, it can be. So yeah, check everything in Victoria's video. So today I will be talking about my TBR for this challenge. I put together a whole TBR that is like all of the 25 books on the board. I'm not sure that I will read all of these, but that is the TBR, so we are going to try, and I think the majority of them should be read. It also took me quite a while to put together this TBR because, as it happens on my TBR, on my physical TBR, there are currently only 8 books, so I had to source the other books from elsewhere. So I looked at my ebooks, so a couple of them are from my ebook TBR. Then I also made an order at a secondhand bookstore because like I will have credit from selling books. So I think around 4 of these are waiting for me at the secondhand bookstore, and the rest of them I don't own yet, so I will just have to figure out how to source them. Okay, so without further ado, let's look at the prompts and my tentative TBR. So the first prompt is flowers or nature on the cover, very springy. And for this I do have a physical book, and that is Infamous by Lex Croucher. So this is a historical sapphic romance, and we have 2 friends. One of them is an aspiring writer and isn't really thinking about marriage, but her other friend is thinking about marriage, which really scares the first character, and she's invited to some estate to kind of like party, I guess, and she thinks that's the perfect opportunity to, you know, hopefully establish herself as a writer. It is compared to Bridgerton on the cover. I've been really meaning to read books by this author, so I'm really excited. The next prompt is queer rap, and for this I'm choosing Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall. I have owned the ebook for years and years, and I just tend to forget that I own these ebooks because these days I don't really read many ebooks, but it needs to get read, and I have read 2 books by Alexis Hall and I really enjoyed one of them. So the one I really enjoyed was Rosalind Palmer Takes the Cake. I then didn't really enjoy the sequel, but I'm still very interested in reading more books by this author, and this one is an adult male-on-male romance, and we have a famous character named Luke who kind of needs to improve his reputation, and he meets this other guy and he thinks that he's the perfect boyfriend material that will, you know, help him improve his reputation. So they start fake dating and we know what happens. So yeah, I've been meaning to read this one and it just needs to happen. Next prompt is an activity one, and it is to match your drink to the book cover. And for this one, I'm tentatively thinking The Falling in Love montage by Kiara Smith. So this book is kind of orangey, reddish, pinkish, and I drink a lot of rooibos tea, so I feel that could kind of fit. But this one I'm leaving partially open, and we will see if like some other match will emerge. This is a young adult contemporary with a sapphic romance, so we follow a character named Sosha, and she just really wants to enjoy her last summer before going to the university. Nothing serious, so she starts kind of fake dating this other girl, and again we know what happens. Next we have oldest book on your TBR, and the oldest books on my TBR are currently from Christmas, and there is a bunch of them, so you know, any of them will do. And I'm choosing Fried Green Tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe by Fanny Flagg. This book takes place in the 80s, but then a character tells a story about two women in the 30s where they ran a shop, and I know there is queer representation. I don't really know that much about it, but I've been intrigued about it, so yeah, I hope I will get it read. Then we have a seasonal read, and for this I'm choosing In the Weeds by B.K. Brisson. So I have read Love Life Farms, which is the first book in this loose series, and the author specifically says that like each book corresponds to a season, and In the Weeds is a spring book, so I think it's perfect. And I've been meaning to continue in the series. So I think in the first book we had like one of the side characters who had a one-night stand with someone, and I think this is going to be their romance. So yeah, they had a one-night stand. Then the woman went away because she was just visiting the town, but now she's at some sort of crossroad, and she remembers that she felt really good in this small town, so she returns, and yeah, we will see what happens. Next prompt is Irish author, and for this I'm choosing Normal People by Sally Rooney. So this has a story behind it. So back in 2020 I tried my first Sally Rooney book, which was this one. I owned it, and I unfortunately DNF'd it, not that far into it, but it was a period of time where I DNF'd a bunch of books, so I'm thinking maybe it was just, you know, the period of time. It was like autumn 2020, which was like the worst time of my life basically. So now I'm thinking maybe I could give it another try, because since then I also read Beautiful World, Where Are You? And I actually quite enjoyed that. I gave that 4 stars. And then last weekend I went to a book swap, and this was basically like the only book that I was intrigued about. So I grabbed it, and we're going to give it a second try. And even though I read like a bit of it years ago, I still don't fully know what it is about. But basically like we have like two people who kind of grew up together, and then they get in a kind of codependent relationship, I think. Next we have a reread, and for this I'm doing More Than Best Friend by Emma R. Alban, and you will see the main reason why I'm reading it a bit later. But this is a historical sapphic romance. The characters are kind of like maybe around 20, so it's kind of either higher end of YA or new adult, maybe you could say. And we have these two young women, and neither of them really wants to get married, but like, you know, society is pressuring them to do so. So then they come up with the plan that they're going to matchmake their single parents together, because one of them who lives with her single mom actually needs to do something because of their financial situation, so this would kind of solve everything for them. This is so fun and, you know, so sweet, with a bit of spice and great chemistry between them. So yeah, I gave it 5 stars when I read it, so I'm really looking forward to rereading it. Then we have food on the cover, and for this I'm choosing the Pumpkin Spice Cafe by, oh my god, Laurie Gilmore. Always trips me up a little bit as a major Gilmore Girls fan. So this is a well-known adult romance series that, you know, I keep seeing everywhere, and I still haven't started. And although the first book is autumnal, I didn't get to it last year or the year before that, so I'm just taking my chance and I will read it now to finally get on the series. So this is a small town romance. It's supposed to be very, you know, sweet and, well, autumnal, but it will do. I think it will do even in the spring. And people say that, like, you know, it really reminds them of Gilmore Girls, which I'm always like kind of careful about these claims, because sometimes people just say it like about any kind of small town book. But yeah, we will see. Then there is Random Pick, and with this one you kind of have a lot of freedom on how you're going to approach this. I decided to look at my Goodreads TBR. I think there are like 300 books or something like that, and I chose like a random number. To be honest, I like spent a wheel 3 times, so yeah, it chose 3 books and I then chose from them. Obviously a lot of books on my Goodreads TBR are kind of random, that I like randomly added and I don't even know that much about it, etc. But yeah, the wheel chose like a poetry book, a thriller book, and then an adult contemporary with the romance. So guess which one I chose. I don't own any of them in any format, and I don't think my library has them, so I will have to pay for them in some form probably. And from these I just really wanted to check out the adult romance, because it is also a sapphic romance, and it is Whenever You're Ready by Rachel Rania Katz. So this is one of the sapphic books that I very randomly added without knowing much about it. In this one we follow a group of friends, and there are 2 women who used to be best friends or are best friends, and a friend of theirs has died. Now they are going on a road trip, and it's supposed to be a lot about the Black Jewish history in the South. And I was warned by the reviews that like the romance doesn't take such a big part, so you know, I'm adjusting my expectations, but it still sounds intriguing. Then we have a big book, which is a book over 400 pages, and for this one I am reading The Shadow Cabinet by Juno Dawson. So this is a sequel, so I don't know anything about this and won't be saying anything about this, but I'm currently reading book 1, which is Her Majesty's Royal Coven, and that book is a book about witches who live in the UK. So it's basically our world, but there are witches, and there is this coven that cooperates with the crown, and they are like protecting the world from evil forces. I'm really enjoying book 1. Because of the reading slump, I haven't been able to like read bigger chunks in it and like to really sink my teeth into it, but still, it is witches, it is like a group of friends and their like complex dynamics, and yeah, I'm really enjoying it. So I already own the sequel, so it is only smart to put it on the TBR to read it quickly, and you know, don't do the thing that like I do usually, that like I read book 1 and then I wait too long to read book 2 and then I don't remember anything, so I have to reread book 1. So like if I could read the sequel like closely after finishing book 1, that would be just perfect. Next we have Disability Rep, and for this one I'm choosing Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonami Young. So this is an adult romance with a main character with disability. She has a limb difference, and this has one of my least favorite tropes, but I always say that it really depends on how you do the trope. So this has the surprise pregnancy trope, which happens I believe like very early on, so it's not a spoiler, and they basically kind of decide that they're going to be friends, and then we see what happens. This actually comes highly recommended by Victoria, so I thought it was only fitting to put this on my TBR. I've been really intrigued about it, and yeah, everyone has been raving about it, so I'm very excited. Next prompt is another activity one, and that is to match your outfit to the book cover. So I'm also leaving this one a little bit open, because I feel like it really depends like when the mood strikes. But I'm tentatively choosing The Baby Dragon Cafe by A.T. Qureshi for this one. So this is an adult romance, and we have a cafe owner, and there are like baby dragons in it that are being trained. This book has like really low reviews, but I also heard some people say that it's actually okay, and I'm just not really expecting an amazing book out of it, but sometimes I just like to read something really fluffy. It doesn't have to have like a lot of substance. People say that like you could like exchange the dragons for dogs, and like yeah, so I have all of these like adjusted expectations, and I still feel like I will be able to enjoy it and take something from it, so fingers crossed it is the case. And this has like dark blue on the cover, and I have like a dark blue sweater, so that's the idea. But as I said, we will see, maybe like a better outfit match will happen. Okay, next one is the ultimate activity, and that is self-care. It is the middle point. So for this one, you can either do like a self-care activity, any self-care activity, or just pick a book that, you know, brings you joy or something like that. So I'm leaving this completely open. I don't know if I will like count an activity or if I will choose another book. Given that like I'm not really confident that I'm going to be able to read that many books, it might be an activity, but we will have to see. Next, secondhand or borrowed books. For this one, I am choosing Lesson in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmos. This one I got last month when I went to the book swap event for the first time, so it is secondhand. This is a historical fiction that takes place in the 60s, and we follow a woman who is a chemist, and she unsurprisingly faces some discrimination as a woman in STEM in that time. And later she finds herself as a host of a cooking show where she's also infusing it with her expertise, and it's supposed to have some feminist themes. So this cooking show inspires women to like strive for, you know, better world. Then we have a classic, and for this one I'm choosing Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. This is a book that I've been meaning to read for such a long time. It is a classic by a black author. It is a queer classic, so yeah, I just really need to read it. And in this one we follow David, who is an American who currently stays in Paris, and he is engaged to a woman, but he becomes involved with a man. This takes place in the 50s, I think, and it's supposed to cover a lot of internalized homophobia and some tragic themes. So I think people cry when they read this book, so I'm a little bit scared, but it needs to happen. For non-fiction, I have Unmasking Autism by Devon Price. I have owned this ebook for years and I still haven't read it, so hopefully putting this on the TBR will do the trick. This is highly rated, but I also saw some interesting critique in the reviews, so I'm just very curious what I will think. For BIPOC author prompt, I'm choosing A Love Song for Ricky Wilde by Tia Williams. I previously read 7 Days in June by this author and I absolutely loved it, and I've been meaning to read this one again for years. So we have a theme on this TBR. This is a story about a young woman who kind of wants something more exciting out of her life, so she leaves her family behind and she rents an apartment in Harlem, and she is striving to open her own flower shop. And then she meets a man, and it's their romance. There's supposed to be some like magic elements, and yeah, it also comes highly recommended, so I can't wait to read it. Next we have Animal POV, and Victoria specified that it doesn't have to be like the whole book is from an animal POV. It is enough when there is an animal who like speaks, so we get its POV. And for this I am choosing Dungeon Crawl Carl. This book has been everywhere, and yeah, I finally need to read it. So this is like a post-apocalyptic book, and we follow a main character who finds himself in this situation that like I think the alien has taken over, and then the surviving people have to go into the dungeon and play this game that is televised. And we have like a cat who speaks, and I'm really excited to finally jump on this hype train. Next we have continuous series, yes, a very good one, and I'm choosing Count Your Lucky Stars by Alexandria Belflair. This is book 3 in this series. So the first one is Written in the Stars, which I really like. That was a sapphic romance. And then we have the second one, Hang the Moon, which I liked like a little bit less, but it was still fine. That was female-male romance. And then the third one is again a sapphic romance. And in this whole series we follow this group of people, and like they individually find a partner. So it's always nice when it's like this and you can return to the world and you already know the side characters. So in this one we have the friend from the protagonist of the first book, and she kind of is not looking for a relationship, but then she meets like her former best friends again after like years and years, and you know, sparks start flying. Then we have a retelling, and for this one I'm actually not sure which one I'm going to pick. I have a couple of options and I will just see like which book I can get kind of like for cheap or somewhere. And so I have A Song of Achilles, Legendborn, The Undertaking of Heart of Mercy, and Gwen and R Are Not in Love. From these ones, I'm mostly interested in The Undertaking of Heart of Mercy, which is a You've Got Mail retelling, which is one of my favorite movies, and it is like an adult romance, and I think it's about like the undertaking business, and so there are some like magical elements maybe. Or then we have Gwen and R Are Not in Love, which is again by Lex Croucher, and this is like a medieval rom-com like King Arthur retelling, and we have a girl and a boy who are both queer. They are betrothed, but they kind of like pretend, and then each has a love interest. So we will see on this one, but I feel like I have some good options. Next prompt is Hay Fever, Out of Your Comfort Zone. So Victoria asked like, what do you associate with spring? And I was immediately like, allergies, because yeah, especially like these past couple of days actually, like the allergies have like hit me like a brick, so it's very like appropriate. For this one I have chosen The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. This is like the ultimate book that I've been saying for years that I want to read, but I'm a little bit intimidated by it. So apparently in this one we have a post-apocalyptic world, and then we also follow like a personal tragedy of a woman. So she came home and found out that her husband murdered her son and kidnapped her daughter. So now she is going to find the daughter, and then there's the other thing happening with the like world collapsing. So yes, I'm a little bit intimidated by that. Apparently like the world building is maybe a little bit like complex, but we will give it a try and hopefully I will like it and understand what's going on. Next one, we have an international author, and for this one I'm choosing Don't Touch My Hair by Emma Dabiri. So I have already read a book by this author. It was What White People Can Do Next, which was absolutely brilliant. I highly recommend it. So I definitely want to read other books by this author. This one talks about black hair, racism, and I have already bought it in the secondhand bookstore. So yes, I definitely want to read this one. We have only a couple of prompts left. So the next one is the shortest book on your TBR. And my shortest book is Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata. So this has, let's see, 163 pages, so it is really a short book. So I've been intrigued to read a book by this author, but I have heard that some of the other ones are kind of like brutal, have a lot of trigger warnings and stuff like that. So I think this one will be a better choice for me. And this is a story about a Japanese woman who has worked in a convenience store for a long time, and she finds it hard to like function in society, and the convenience store kind of gives her the framework of how to act, and she's facing a lot of pressure from other people to find a man, you know, and eventually like have a like better career. This sounds like just my kind of book, so we will see how I like it. The second to last prompt is dual or multiple POV, and for this one I'm choosing You're the Problem, It's You by Emma R. Alban. So this is book 2 in the series that I previously talked about, the first book being More Than a Best Friend. And in this one we follow two young men who apparently hate each other, can't stand each other, but then they become infatuated with each other and they kind of have to work together on some common goal. I really hope the second book will be as good as the first one, but yeah, we will see. And then the last prompt is the title starts with S, B, R, I, N or G for spring. And for this one I'm choosing The Solstice Skirt by Jade Juniper. So I've been following Jade on YouTube for many years, so I've been really excited to read her book. I own it on ebook, and yeah, I just really need to get to it. And this is a fantasy, and our main character is a young girl who is supposed to like keep the peace for her kingdom, but the neighboring kingdom are at war, and then eventually like the two brothers who are at war like arrive at her court, and yeah, it's about alliances, like platonic relationships, and a bit of romance is supposed to be there. And yeah, I know there is a lot of queer rap and yeah, everyone has been highly recommending it, so yeah, I finally want to read it. And that is all for my spring reading challenge TBR. Let me know if you're participating, if you have read any of these books. Like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!